righty, welcome in and welcome back, everybody, to Sports Prophet TV. This is College Football Capital. I am your host, Sports Prophet, or Cooper, and with me, as always, is ClePicks. We're talking college football week 4 this week. If you haven't tuned into the show yet, it's a pretty lax show, pretty casual. We're going to run through this slate, and as we go through it, we'll kind of bounce off some ideas off of each other and settle on some official show picks. Bear with me this week because my voice is going just a bit.
Come on, man. Suck it up. Let's go. Fourth quarter.
Yeah, that's pretty much where we're at. But unfortunately, it's like the first quarter for me since I've got 2 more shows, Tuesday and Wednesday. But yeah, we'll run through them. 6-2 last week. So if you tuned in, it was a good week. We'll start the show with a recap of last week's picks. And yeah, Clea, it was a good week. We're going to start the show with the losses, but there's more winners than losses. So,
yeah, I mean, we continue to profit every week on the show. If you listen every week, always thank you. We've had some feedback from some people that watch every week, so thanks. Always like and subscribe to the page to get more content from Prophet and myself every Monday. With that said, yeah, Arizona, Kansas State, that thing kind of died in the first half, I will admit. Arizona really didn't show up offensively.
They really didn't.
Mistakes in the red zone. Just overall, I mean, I expected better out of Arizona. So props to Kansas State. They played an excellent game. Johnson and the running backs are really good there, Edwards. And, I like the direction of Kansas State as well. McMullen showed up for Arizona, but unfortunately that was about it. Yeah, but losses happen, unfortunately.
Yeah, I haven't hit an over this season, so I have not had great luck with overs despite CLV. I sent this one out at 56. It closed around 62, and didn't even sniff the 56. So just kind of been like that. Both of these teams were top 50. Some of I think Arizona was even higher in plays per second. And these guys were running the play clock down to almost nothing in this game. So it's one of those things where the game plan didn't match, clearly what we were expecting as far as tempo. But that's going to happen from time to time, and it was one of those. I still think it could have gotten close to the original opener if with some red zone efficiency, but didn't get there. The only other loss of the show last week was Oregon State plus the 16.5. Clea and I talked about this one on the show last week, and it was one of those kind of sneaky ones because Oregon has looked a little bit suspect to start the year, and then they just came out and turned it on. And I think Oregon State has kind of probably been covering up for some of their issues just a little bit, and obviously those were exposed against a top 10 caliber team in Oregon. So
yeah, no, I think Oregon's still running up and down the field on that Oregon State defense.
Right.
There was zero resistance from them. Kind of one of those things when you watch a game and, your first drive goes right down the field and all of a sudden you miss a 30-yard field goal. You kind of have a bad feeling that, all right, I hope this doesn't come back and bite us. And momentum clearly shifted at that point. And again, Oregon looked great offensively. It's a combination of Oregon looked great offensively and Oregon State looked terrible defensively. Lack of tackling, just unmarked men. Dylan Gabriel, going untouched on an option, just stuff like that. So props to Oregon. They look like what we thought they would look like at the start of the year.
Yep.
Finally. But at the same time, though, you said it. I think, with who Oregon State has played too, I think it was a little bit of smokescreen, and especially, last week or 2 weeks ago when they played San Diego State, we know how bad that offense is. And it covered up some weaknesses defensively for them, and Oregon really exposed them.
Yeah, no doubt about it. But on the bright side, I think Oregon can make us some money this year because they're a good team. So, all right, on to the winners. This was one that we didn't get CLV on. We got negative CLV. We gave out UNLV plus 7.5. It closed around 9.5 or 10. And UNLV won as an outright underdog on the road. against Kansas. And, we said on this show, I felt like UNLV was live. UNLV is, if not the best, one of the 2 or 3 best group of 5 teams this season. I actually thought they had a really bad game for UNLV. Uh, Arguably could have been up by a couple more scores, by the time that one ended. And he was just kind of missing. He's got kind of a low arm slot. He's got kind of a Josh Allen thing going on. Obviously, he ran all over Kansas, so it wasn't it wasn't him. He's an elite running quarterback, no doubt about it. And that will take UNLV a long way. Might even probably will give them a chance to win the Mountain West. I think it's obviously them and Boise in that one. But if he can start completing some passes, UNLV playoff is not out of the realm as far as being the highest ranked group of 5 team. They do have a really hard schedule though compared to some of the other group of 5 teams. So that's the only reason, I'd kind of be worried, as far as making a case for them to make the playoff. But that was a solid winner, +7.5 outright winner. Baylor, man, this was 31-3. They fumbled twice in the red zone in the first half, and then they fumbled again right before halftime. And I was like, this game is 6-3 at halftime. Baylor's dominating. This Air Force offense is not the same.
Bad. It's bad.
They're bad, and I told you, I almost clipped it and posted it, but then I was like, nah, who cares? I literally said on the show a week ago, this is a 35-3 game for me. Like, this is how I see it playing out. It was almost 35-3. It was 31-3. The thing about Baylor this year is that their defense flies around. Like, Coach Aranda is got his guys on defense. The best athletes on that team are on defense. They don't have any dynamic skill players at all. They've got a good punt returner. I think I've got a ghost in my house. They do have a dynamic punt returner that doesn't start for some reason. He's really fast, but just not a lot of dynamic talent on the offensive side of the ball. Robertson, and this is all with a backup quarterback, right? So they didn't even need DeQuan Finn, and I wasn't worried about it because Robertson is maybe a little bit of better passer than DeQuan Finn is anyways. But anyway, clean handicap, clean winner. That's how it's done. That's how we like it. Cincinnati on the money line. This could have been a multi-unit play. I was on the fence about making this a multi-unit play. I wish I had, even though the refs did everything in their power.
Golly.
Unbelievable. Like, I mean, some of the officiating jobs last week were really just historically bad as far as manipulating. I'm not saying that these are fixed. I'm not, throwing the rigged game, accusations. I'm just saying, whether it's intentional or not, which I don't think it is for the most part, these officials had a lot of effect on a lot of outcomes. The Washington State game, holy moly. There were some other ones, right? So this was a fairly easy cover. I thought Cincinnati was far the better team. We said it on the show. I thought their speed would give Miami, Ohio issues, and it did. And this probably could have been a 17 to 20 point win for Cincinnati. I mean, Cincinnati's running in for a touchdown right before halftime they would have gone up 17-3. And, he fumbles on the inch-yard line for a touchback, basically at the end of the first half. So, some bad luck. Cincinnati still comes through. The handicap was good enough for this to come through, even with the officials and with some bad luck. So again, that's how it's done. We like them clean like that. So next one, also a beautiful, clean handicap. I mean, not to pat ourselves on the back too much, but hey, when it's good, it's good. And this was a great handicap. It was a good read. Heck, this Florida State team is so bad. We might could have played Memphis at a pick 'em.
Yeah.
I mean, holy moly. I mean, how'd you feel about this one, Clee?
Truly, I thought Memphis should have won by more. I thought they dominated from start to finish. Obviously, it was a fumble 2 plays in the game. The final score wasn't indicative of how much Memphis really dominated this game. Truthfully, Boston College and Georgia Tech have just given a blueprint on how to beat this Florida State team the rest of the year. They're extremely soft up front. They can't stop the run. force them into passing situations with Uyungale, and he can't come through in those spots. It's really going to be interesting to see what happens there at both Florida schools this rest of the season. I'm not saying Mike Norvell is going to lose his job, but you go 3-9. You look at the schedule. I only see maybe 3 more wins for them, and one of those is against Charleston Southern or Charleston State, some sort of FCS school. Boy, it's going to be an interesting scene down there in Tallahassee going forward the rest of the season. But yeah, good for Memphis. I thought they should have won by more, truthfully.
Yeah, you could definitely make a case for that. This Florida State team's their win total preseason was 9.5, so that's already cashed.
Yeah, that was the joke going around this week.
That's wild, absolutely wild. All right, I'll do our last couple of wins here from last week's show. Auburn and New Mexico. Let's just play every New Mexico over. That's basically where we are with this team. Not a lick of defense. And they can contribute a little bit too. So
yep.
I played Auburn's team total last week against Cal, and then they made the quarterback change. I wish they had made the quarterback change before that game because this guy's clearly an upgrade.
I'm not saying pay attention to the end of the show. But let me say pay attention to the end of the show because New Mexico may be back on the card for us here today.
What was that, Clee? Sorry.
I said, I'm not saying pay attention till the end of the show, but I'm saying pay attention to the end of the show because New Mexico may be on the card again today.
Oh, boy. Here we go. Till the wheels fall off.
Yep.
All right. And then the last one, another clean handicap, Kentucky and Georgia under 45.5. And that was an easy winner. Really about as sweat-free as an under can get, considering unders.
It's all about the data on that game. The history told us in this matchup, especially in Lexington, both teams love to run the football. And you saw it on Saturday night. So, that was a grind it out. We'll see what happens going forward with Georgia. We talked pre-show, Prophet, about Kentucky and where was this effort, a week ago against South Carolina. Because that was a completely different team we saw on Saturday. But that was a layup. I'll take one of those every day of the week if I can.
Absolutely. So yeah, good week, 6-2. We're back now. Time for week 4, and this is the point in the year that my personal and client volume will take a tick up because I have enough data and enough information that. I'm starting to feel more comfortable with who's who and what teams are really made of. And so, my cards will sometimes this time of year double in size and sometimes, a pretty good increase, maybe not double, but units will start to go up. I'll start to have some 2 and 3 unit plays and, definitely more volume once we get in, after 3 or 4 games. So, all right, let's start with a Thursday game, standalone Thursday game, South Alabama and App State. This is a weird one for me because I was kind of selling on South Alabama preseason, but clearly the offense is still pretty good. And I've got some concerns about Appalachian State. So, it is in Boone. Always a tough place to play, obviously. This would be dog or pass for me on the spread. I would lean South Alabama or pass just to keep it, within a score, but I'd probably no play for me here.
Yeah, no play for me here. South Alabama is the one that won like 70, whatever, 81 to whatever last week.
Yeah.
App State's a hard read this year. I don't feel like they're the App State teams of years past. They got throttled by Clemson in that first half, 2 weeks ago. So, yeah, it's a no play for me on Thursday night.
All right, on to Friday then. Stanford and Syracuse, former Ohio State quarterback McCord. Obviously, a lot about him. Decent little disparity in the market. There's a 10.5 there at Bet Rivers, and there's also a 9.5 on FanDuel. So, just another reason to have multiple accounts and multiple books to get the price because, If you like Stanford, 10.5, that's pretty key. And if you like Syracuse, 9.5, pretty key as well. I will say this. I think Syracuse's offense is actually pretty good. And I don't think Stanford is necessarily set up to stop them. Um, and then Stanford's offense was fairly impressive against TCU. I don't love the travel. Like this is pretty crazy travel, but
Is this an ACC game, if I'm not mistaken?
it is an
Right now,
ACC
the
game.
ACC game, yeah.
Yes, how bizarre that Stanford, on the Pacific Ocean is in the ACC, but I would lean over in this game if I had to, over 57. I mean, I haven't had very good luck with overs so far this year. I haven't cashed one yet. I haven't played a ton of them, but I haven't cashed an over yet, unless I'm forgetting one. But I would lean over 57. Let's see if there's any better numbers out there.
That was my initial read on the game. I have been impressed with Syracuse, especially offensively. Kyle looks very relaxed there. I mean, sometimes, and I mean this in the nicest way to the guy, the less bright lights of Syracuse are maybe better for a kid.
Right.
We're talking about 19, 20-year-olds here. And he looks a lot more relaxed. He's in a fun offense there. And it's Fran Brown's the coach, correct? If I'm not mistaken. First-year guy with Georgia. He's doing an excellent job so far. Now, granted, it's been 2 games, but they look re-injuvenated within that program. And trust me, I've been to what was the Carrier Dome. When that place gets loud, boy, that is a tough place to play in that dome. So, Stanford's very good offensively. We've seen that this year. I just, I think this is going to be a high-scoring one. So, yeah, I lean the 57 with the total with both of those teams. Again, week 1, Syracuse gave up a lot to Ohio, and truthfully, Georgia Tech had a lot of opportunities in that second game, but kind of bit themselves shot themselves in the foot a lot. So, I would lean the over here.
I'm close. I'm fairly close to making this an official play. Just because I was a little bit surprised. I just looked at plays per second. Syracuse is 60th in the country in plays per second, so top half. And then Stanford is currently 15th, so they're almost top 10 in plays per second in college football this year. And this is at 57. I mean, I don't think either defense really is going to have much for their opponent. I think Stanford's offense is better than people realize. Actually, they've got what's the kid's name? The Polynesian kid, the receiver that's a monster. They looked okay against TCU, and then they looked fine against Cal Poly. Very close. What are you feel strong enough about this one, or you want to pass?
Throw it on there. Throw it on.
All right, there you go.
I honestly almost wrote it down, and because we're going to get to another game here on Friday that I did. So,
all right. So first official show pick. I'm going to write it down right now. We've got an over 57 in Stanford and Syracuse. 57 minus 110. That's pretty much widely available. So that's going to be our first one. And it's a Friday night game. So who doesn't like a good over on a Friday night? Just the appetizer for the big stuff, right? All right. So there's our first one. And we've got another official one coming up right here because Clee just let me know. Illinois and Nebraska. Wow, this Nebraska line is down to minus 8.5 on FanDuel, and our total sitting at 43. I've got a lean in this one, but you got an official one. So what are we doing here?
Yeah, I'm going with the Cornhuskers minus the 8.5. Dalton, or not Dalton, wrong show. Profit. Cornhuskers margin of victories this year: 33 versus UTEP, 18 versus Colorado, 31 versus Northern Iowa a week ago. Illinois had one tough game so far this year. That was against Kansas. It was at home, and Kansas. Really, that was more of a case of Kansas lost that game than Illinois won it. Lincoln's going to be absolutely a madhouse for this game. I love Nebraska. I love what they're doing there. I love Matt Rule. Um, and, I don't think you can go wrong here with the Cornhuskers. The fact that the line's coming down a little bit, fine with me. I have no problem with the 8.5. I think they win this game going away. I just, I love what Riola's doing. They, the 18-point win against Colorado is a little deceiving. Truthfully, that should have probably been a lot more than that. You were there,
Yep.
obviously. They kind of played very conservative in the second half. If we get that that Nebraska team, I think they win this game by, 2 touchdowns at least. So I like Nebraska minus the 8.5.
I love it. I think one of these teams is kind of fake good, and the other team is good. That's kind of what I think is going on here.
I was shocked to see Illinois in the top 25. Truthfully,
well, it makes
I couldn't believe that.
makes for a great Friday night game. I mean, you got a top 10 big, top 25 Big Ten matchup, which is great. I'll tell you what my thoughts were on this one. Definitely lean Nebraska on the spread. I'm absolutely with you there. Yeah, if I was going to play a spread, got a really low total here. It's set at 43, and it makes sense because these are two bottom 10 teams and tempo. Very very pro style to say the least. These teams are going to take their time. But here's the thing: Nebraska's team total is set at 26.5 in this game. All right. Nebraska has taken their foot off the pedal. I mean, look, they've covered this team total in all 3 games and didn't score a point in the second half against Colorado, right? The only real offense that Illinois has played this year was Kansas, and Jalen Daniels had three interceptions. They had 4 turnovers in that game. But the so the Nebraska run game has been ultra impressive for me this year. They have looked great. That, like, the way that the offensive line is moving and gelling reminds me of like an Oregon or a Michigan offensive line from last year. Like they really have taken a huge step. Well, Devin Neal for Kansas ran for 7.2 yards a carry on this Illinois team. So it wasn't the Kansas run game that lost Kansas that game. And Dylan Raiola is not going to throw 3 interceptions. No. So I like Nebraska here. I like the efficiency of the offense because I think the run game is going to be there for Nebraska. Raiola is been incredible on third down this season. He's got to be one of the best in the country. I like that Nebraska team total over 26.5. I know this game is going to be a snail's pace from a tempo, but I think these guys, if they don't take an entire quarter and a half off, I think they get to 35 easily on offense because I'm just not that impressed with the Illinois defense, especially against the run. All right. Cool.
Don't hate it. Don't hate that.
All righty. We will keep it moving. So 2 officials right off the bat. Great start to the show. Nothing there for me. Kansas, West Virginia is an interesting one for me. I kind of lean to West Virginia, and I'm not a big fan of West Virginia. I just think Kansas has some real issues with their quarterback right now. I don't think he's the same Jalen Daniels. I don't know if it's injury, I don't know if it's mental. I mean,
it's definitely something to miss there offensively. He looked great the first 2 quarters against UNLV, and then UNLV's made some adjustments, and truthfully, Kansas couldn't really adjust back to it. So with that said, I like West Virginia as well. Look, they should have won last week against Pitt. I was on that over for my clients, and that hit obviously. But so I was watching that game. That was the point I was making. West Virginia just stopped I guess the way was to try not to lose instead of playing to win. That you
Yeah.
know what I'm saying there? Those final 5 minutes of the game, and it cost them. So, yeah, I think WVU is the better team. If you don't like taking, the spread, money line shouldn't be what minus 135 on, at the minus 2.5 spread there. But yeah, I think WVU wins that game.
Okay. All right. I've got a lean. Oh, hold on. We've got an official one coming in.
Yep.
Marshall at Ohio State. Another Ohio State play. What do we got, Clee?
I'm going back to the well. I gave this out 2 weeks ago. Profit. It's the Ohio State team total. You can only find this on FanDuel right now. DraftKings doesn't have it posted, but I found it at 45.5.
Okay.
With the Buckeyes. Look, they're coming off a bye week. They got well rested. Donovan Jackson, who's probably their best offensive lineman, will be back in the starting lineup. Should be at least. They said he could have played 2 weeks ago if it was a playoff game. I guess the good way to say it against Western Michigan, but he should be back in the starting lineup. They're averaging 52 points, a game this year. I think this should go over. Marshall gave up 200 yards rushing to Virginia Tech a week ago. You can equally see something, if not more, from this Ohio State offense, whether it's Junkins or Trevion or Peoples now, or even Howard in that offensive look. And also, I think if anything, what's been even more impressive is the fact of their defense is getting 3 and outs. They held Western Michigan to under 100 yards for a total in that game. So, yeah, I really like the Ohio State team total. A lot of possessions in this game. And even the second, and third teamers are producing offense too. So, say it is Howard out of the game and Jeremiah Smith out of the game, guys like that in the middle of the third quarter. Julian Sane came in, scored a touchdown. Devin Brown came in, scored a touchdown against Western Michigan. So, the offensive production hasn't gone down with the second and third teamers in, especially when you got, guys like James Peoples who going into the week was out rushing Donovan Edwards. Not saying that's an Ohio State Michigan thing, but, I guess got to put it out there. But no, for real. Yeah, I really love this Ohio State offense, but I said it too. The fact their defense is getting stops, creating turnovers, I think that creates more possessions for them.
Yeah, I'm with you there. If you can't, sustain drives, you're going to be in trouble if you're Marshall.
45 in the hook was the number.
I got 45 in a hook. You got a price on that?
105.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I'm cool with that. All right. We'll keep it rolling. I definitely have a lean on James Madison, North Carolina. I would probably lean under in that one. I'm seeing like 47.5 and 48s. Obviously, their North Carolina's starting quarterback is out for the year. Max Johnson, the kid from Texas A&M. They played 2 quarterbacks last game against North Carolina Central. Criswell, who's the third string going into the year, and Connor Harrell, who I'm not a big fan of. And then on the James Madison side of things, I'm not a fan of their quarterback at all that they brought in. It's Alonzo Barnett III. I think he was like maybe at Virginia at some point. I can't remember where he was, but I don't see – I would lean North Carolina even with the backup quarterbacks and under in that one. I don't see where the points are going to come from.
Yeah, no, after watching McLeod at Texas State the other night, man, the James Madison missed them, and heck, even that coach over there doing things at Indiana now too.
Yeah.
So, equally impressive with the Hoosiers. But yeah, I pick up what you're putting down there.
What was that?
I said I pick up what you're putting down with that under.
Absolutely. All right, on to more on Saturday. Man, what's going on with NC State?
Boy, did you see the news today? I'm sure you did.
Fill me in. I was
they benched what's his name, the quarterback.
The kid from Coastal.
Yeah, they're going with the backup now going forward.
They probably should, and I would probably only have interest. Look, I think Clemson has a top 5 defense, and I said that the first week when they lost to Georgia. I was like, Yeah, Clemson's got issues, and like Dabo needs to be held accountable for not utilizing the transfer portal. And there's like a ton of issues, a laundry list of issues that you could go down with the Clemson team, but it's not their defense. Like their defense is a top 5 defense in college football. It's not really going to matter because you're probably not going to see this Clemson team in the playoff. But the defense is still a real deal. So probably another one that I would lean under.
Yeah, Grayson McCall got knocked out of the game against Louisiana Tech. They're calling an undisclosed injury. And they're going to start freshman CJ Bailey, who went 13 of 20 for 156 and an interception.
So here's what's crazy about the Louisiana Tech game. That's a bad team.
Yeah.
Louisiana Tech is really bad, like legitimately bad. And we're winning in that game until the fourth quarter. So, and they outgained them per play. So, yeah, I probably would not lean dog here. Would probably only go.
Yeah, with the game at Clemson, I would lean definitely the Tigers.
What's so totals at 48. The spread's. Oh, why is it showing me 17 on here?
Because it jumped up, I think, because of the injury.
Oh, the injury, yeah. So the spread's at 20. The number's at 48. So you're talking about
looking for a team total?
Yeah, it's going to be like 14, around 14 probably.
For NC State?
Yeah.
Let me look up.
Because I would look at NC State's team total to go under if it's like 14 or higher. Maybe it's 16 and a half. I don't have the number in front of me.
ABC, baby. 13 and a half right now on DraftKings. Minus 105.
I don't want it. If that could, if anybody sees a 14 and a half, even if it's a little bit juiced, I would be comfortable going the under.
I will say DraftKings, and I'm just not trying to promote their book, but I'll just give advice out there if you're looking for multiple options. DraftKings does give out lines when it comes to team totals with college games for the main ones, not like the one-offs, but you should get an alt line with NC State and Clemson for that game. So, yeah.
Okay, cool. Rice and Army, man, Rice is really, not really what I thought they were going to be. I guess losing some, McCaffrey and what's his name, the quarterback from Georgia, has kind of hurt him because they got EJ Warner from Temple, who I liked at Temple. But it's just not working out so far for this Rice team. With that being said, I would probably still lean Rice.
Yeah, honestly, no say in the game. I've watched Army once this year. I haven't watched much Rice though.
Here's a game I like. I want to dig into this one a little bit more, but I pretty much know that this could probably be a play for me.
Look, all props to Tulane. I thought they played very well against Oklahoma in Norman. And, we talked about it last week. Could it be a possible letdown spot for them coming off an emotional loss to Kansas State? But, they played 2 tough teams the last 2 weeks and equally, what was it, a 4 or 5 point game there in the fourth quarter against Oklahoma? I mean, yeah. I think, truthfully, -3, I would take Tulane. I'm not going to make an official play, but that would be definitely my lean on it. This is nothing against Louisiana. Just I would like what I've seen more out of Tulane this year.
Yeah, I'm actually probably leaning the other way on this one. Okay. I think the home team is a sharp look. I agree. I've been pretty impressed with Tulane. I think they have a little bit of a talent advantage, but a really tough place to play when you play it, at the Raging Cajuns and
down there in Lafayette.
Down there in Lafayette, yep. It's been there a few times myself, but
I haven't played a home and home with them, so I've seen them once.
Yeah, so it's obviously Louisiana less proven. It's a little bit harder to tell, but I would take them at anything 3.5. 3.5 or better is probably not a show play, but definitely have some interest there.
Florida, Mississippi State. That's the jail game of the week. You showing that at all for all minutes?
Yeah. Yeah, that's not
All
touching
right,
that.
I'm going to do a rapid fire type question for you. Who's the next
Okay.
coach of Florida?
Oh goodness.
Still sports talk radio, but I know. But
Man, I'm gonna say GJ Kinney.
okay, I think they're going to try and get Lane Kiffin. I don't think it's going to happen, but that's the pipe dream there. I know it'd be attractive for him because the NIL game is so strong at Florida, recruiting resources. Um, Oxford's going to have to step up and try to keep him because I have a feeling that Florida's going to try hard to get Lane there. Wouldn't shock me one bit, especially with how things are going up in Boulder,
Yeah.
that they try to maybe bring down Prime there. Prime would do it
Oh,
too, just to spite Florida State.
oh my gosh. That would be
I mean,
absurd.
the move makes sense for the fact of Travis is gone, Shador's gone. What else is left? He hates Florida State now because of not giving him the job 2-3 years ago, whatever that was, 4 years ago.
I don't
Yeah, I don't think that's going to happen, but it wouldn't shock me at the same time.
I don't think Prime is getting another Power 5 job anytime soon. That's just my 2 cents.
That would be the one I would think he would take just to spite Florida State.
No, I think he would take it. I have a hard time seeing them offer him.
True. That's the other part.
I think Colorado was just desperate enough to take a chance on him, and he wanted to be a Power 5 coach. I thought that there were some better opportunities for him, like in the Florida area on the coast. I think he, with some Group of 5 teams, I think it would have been.
Wasn't he going to go to FAU? Wasn't that the rumor?
Yeah. I actually think that could have been maybe a better fit, but
hanging out down there in Boca.
Yep. All
Ohio,
right.
Kentucky is interesting to me. We'll get back on topic here. The Bobcats back-to-back wins. Didn't look the greatest last week, but Kentucky, we'll see what happens here. I think plus 20 is definitely in play in that game. Kentucky, as we know, will try to slow down. What's the total in that game?
We've got a 42.5.
If it was 45, I would love it.
It's low, huh?
Yeah. Yeah, I think Ohio is definitely in play though. They're not going to be intimidated going into the Lexington. That's for sure.
I don't know what to do with Kentucky, man. Personally, I've just this team can beat anybody or lose to anybody. Here's a fun one. Virginia going to Coastal Carolina, who has looked pretty dang good this year, actually. Coastal is a 3.5 point home underdog. They beat the brakes off of Jacksonville State, who I think is kind of bad this year, especially defensively.
Great call by you, by the way. You said that was a tough spot for them going up to Ypsilanti on Saturday night.
I wish I had played it, man. Wish I had played it. And you know what would have been even easier, which I wrote down right after the show, the over. It was like the total was like 52 in that game, and it was a shootout. So I'm going to dig into this one a little bit more. I think this is going to be a really close game. I think this line is about right. This is one of those. Sometimes you can find an advantage on games like this, where it's a Group of 5 playing a good or one of the better, a Power 4 team playing one of the better Group of 5 teams. But I think this line's just about right. I think Virginia is. I think Coastal is a good enough team to hang in there. They're at home, so they're going to get a call here and there. They're going to get some breaks. And I think this is going to come down to a field goal. I think this game is going to be a grind. I don't have really a heavy edge on either side with my numbers. Keep it moving.
Speaking of Jacksonville State, there they are.
Yeah, there they are. 0-3. Let's look at. I like that we're getting some FCS and FBS lines out earlier in the week. It's because there's less matchups for them to make lines for. So, starting to get those out quicker.
Um,
Ooh, Eastern Washington plus 9.5 against Nevada. I'm gonna have to look at that one later. I can't get into that right now.
I don't have the line on it yet, but Penn State first half team total against Kent State.
The Kent State
Probably will
fade
be
is fully on, huh?
yeah, it's a tough scene there. And it can't that game against Tennessee was just a debacle for them, and that was one of our winners we had on Saturday night. Was Tennessee first half team total over 34.5, and they had 35 at the end of the first quarter. So I don't think Penn State that is can duplicate that, but if it's in the 20s somewhere, I wouldn't be shocked if they hang up 31 or something like that in the first half against Kent State. So yeah, I'll take a look at that one on Saturday. I'll dive a little bit deeper into it, but yeah, Penn State's coming off a bye week as well. So,
what's your take on Rutgers this year? Are they better? Or are they about how they've been?
I think Shiano's culture is really in play there, if that makes sense at all.
Yeah.
Tough, hard-nosed, defensive-oriented, run the football, bring your lunch pail type of team. I think 3.5 is a nice play there against Virginia Tech. I'm not really that impressed with this Hokies team.
Okay.
I watched a little bit. I mean, being a Zip myself, I watched a little of their game against Akron a couple weeks ago. It's Akron, so you can't really take too much away from it. But the fact of they have a really good running back overall. I think, the issue with Rutgers is the quarterback, and they have Minnesota's starter. I can't pronounce his name because it's very Greek sounding, and I don't want to mispronounce it. So, but he's as the cool kids say, mid at best.
Yeah, that's what they say.
Yeah, that's my only drawback for them. But they're gonna play defense. They're gonna run the football down your throat. That's for sure. So, yeah, I like that 3.5 though with Rutgers on Saturday because I think that's a 3-point game. Period. Both sides.
And that has come down. I think it opened at like 5.5. So.
Yeah. I do have an official play coming up here.
On the screen?
Yes.
All right. What do we got?
I'm going with USC minus 5.5, truthfully. I know that Michigan made the quarterback change day with Orgy, now the starting quarterback, but I think that makes him even more one-dimensional. He hasn't shown the ability to throw the ball yet this year. When they played Texas, 2 weeks ago, Michigan looked very slow defensively. I think USC's speed, especially at the skill position, really does a number here on that Michigan defense. Again, and I think the defense just I love what Lynn's doing so far with SC. I thought I was very impressed with what they did against LSU in the opening weekend in Vegas, and I think they can do that here against a super one-dimensional team in Michigan. So. The offensive line play for Michigan's been terrible. The quarterback play has been terrible for them. It's a very, I don't want to say disappointing, but not what we've seen the last 3 years from the Maize and Blue. And there's a lot to do with that, but there's been a big drop off from this year from last year. So I think SC here wins this game going away, and I have an official play of SC minus 5.5 there on CBS at 3:30.
Yeah, I actually like that's an official pick. I actually like the over in that game. I actually think 45.5, 46, 46.5. I think there's going to be some scoring. I think Michigan will take some chances, take some shots that they haven't been. I think they'll get a little more aggressive on offense. And I don't think the Michigan defense is all that great. Like you said, they look slow. So USC is going to push the pace. Michigan, you better try to keep up. I think the number's a little bit low, but we'll keep it moving. All right.
Boy, oh boy, does UCLA.
UCLA is horrible. Holy moly. I mean, there was like a bizarre press conference like in fall camp with their head coach, and I was like,
yeah, it was that Big Ten Media Day.
I just got a very, very weird vibe from that guy. And
just let you guys know we're from LA. Good.
Yeah, that was it. That was it. Yeah.
They did that. You did that at Big Ten Media Day.
Dude is clearly in over his head.
I was tired and watched it.
Yeah, dude is clearly in over his head.
As I said to some people before the season started, UCLA's all the signs of that when the fact of Chip Kelly was willing to leave that job and go to take an offensive coordinator job tells you all you need to know about the talent this year with this UCLA team. And we saw it last week. Indiana did whatever they wanted to do. And, props to IU. They look, very good so far. But, that's a mess there in LA with UCLA. Deshaun Foster, as you said, he's way over his head. He's a legend there. But there's a reason why Archie Griffin or Eddie George haven't been coaching at Ohio State. So we'll put it that way.
No doubt. Another FCS lean here. I would lean Youngstown State at 24 or better at Pitt. Youngstown State, they always have some athletes. I think they'll have some athletes again, and I think 24. It's kind of a sleepy spot too for Pitt because, they just won the backyard brawl against West Virginia and came back and beat Cincinnati from behind and. Definitely feels like a sleepy spot, and this will be Youngstown State Super Bowl. So I would lean Youngstown State plus the 24 there.
Shout out to the Penguins,
dude. Coolest mascot in college football.
Took a visit there in high school.
It's
almost was a Penguin myself.
Love it, absolutely love it, Clee.
Had some things worked out the right way.
You could have been a Penguin.
Could have been a Penguin.
Wow. All right, let's talk about a big one. This is a monster game in the Big 12. The two best teams in the Big 12. Is that a stretch? I mean, I don't have Kansas State as my favorite or co-favorite at this point. This would probably be 1 and 2 for me.
Yeah, I gave out Oklahoma State's win total at the start of the year. So I was already very high on what they brought back from a year ago. But Bowman's taken a bit of a jump in the positive direction at quarterback. We know, that Arkansas game was telling to me because Arkansas did a great job of shutting down Ollie Gordon in that game, and Bowman had to win it for them, and he did. Now, I think here in this situation, I would lean the 2.5 with Oklahoma State. Yes, I know Cam Rising is back or should be back, but how healthy is he going to be? And exactly. B, it's not in Rice Nichols, and we've seen history of Utah play excellent at Rice Nichols in their Salt Lake City and struggle a bit on the road. And I think this is going to be a hostile environment there in Stillwater. If you've ever been there, the students are literally right on you. They have those paddle things, you know what I'm talking about, when they're slamming them against the mats and stuff.
It is so loud.
Yeah, it's going to be a good, fun environment. I like Oklahoma State here plus the 2.5. I almost made an official play for the show. I'll put it that way.
So do I. Let's man, I wish there was a 3 because this was a line flip. This flipped when the Rising News came out. It was Oklahoma State minus 2.5, minus 3, and then the Rising News comes out and it flips to where you're seeing it now, right? So, man, I just feel like, Utah State, this is old school football against a good, balanced spread, athletic Oklahoma State team. I think Oklahoma State has a bigger advantage athletically than people realize in this game. And I would absolutely lean Oklahoma State as well in this one. I mean, I think they win even with Rising because, how healthy is he? I know it was just a finger or something, but he's still, he's still off the ACL tear. We saw him for a quarter or so against Baylor. He looked good.
Did you, speaking of that injury, did you see Coach Prime got duped?
No.
Some like fake Utah sports reporter account put out that Rising got like hepatitis or something from the cut, the hand laceration, and was going to miss 8 to 9 weeks.
Oh my
And
gosh.
Prime put out like this tweet during midweek last week, was like, thoughts and prayers to Cam Rising, keep battling through or something.
Holy moly.
It was from the fake, yeah.
Come on. Somebody
God,
needs
I
to
love
Coach
Twitter
Prime.
sometimes, or X, what the heck you want to call it. But
Yeah.
oh my goodness, yeah, it was like
I gotta
Thursday
take
last
Coach Prime's phone away, man. Hey, let's talk about this data point right here. Utah at Utah State last week. Utah State's running back had 19 carries for 115 yards, 6.1 yards on the ground. If Utah State can get in the spread and run the ball, I think Oklahoma State can too. I mean, that's very concerning if I'm Utah. My only reservation here is I wanted this to touch 3. I wanted to get a 3 here with Oklahoma State, but I'll make it a show pick.
Boom,
Oklahoma
baby.
State plus the 2.5. It's gonna be a show pick. If it gets to plus 3, I'm probably hammering it. I wasn't look. You were high on Oklahoma State before the season. I actually kind of thought that they overachieved last year, and I was kind of talking some mess about them. But they've impressed me. Bowman has impressed me. The athletes have impressed me. This is, like you said, it's Utah away from their element, playing old school football against better athletes. And I think Oklahoma State can man up and somewhat stop the run because of how Utah operates, right? Now, obviously, a healthy Rising changes that a little bit because now you got to worry about the pass too. So I think at worst, this should be a pick 'em. And the fact that Oklahoma State is getting 2.5 or even 3 is wrong. I think it's 2.5 or 3 points off where I would make it. I may even have Oklahoma State as like a 1-point favorite here. So that's quite a few points off, All right. We will keep scooting.
Keep scooting, buddy.
Oh man.
I'm interested to see if TCU can get off the mat from last week.
I think they do.
I had that total with them in Central Florida, but and truthfully, SMU has been very disappointing to me. They just, I thought they'd look better. I guess a good way to say it, and they haven't. So it'll be interesting. I have no real feel for this game, truthfully, just because of what happened last week and then my feel on SMU. But yeah, that's gonna be an interesting one. Is that a big rivalry down there? You're my Texas man.
I wouldn't call it a big rivalry because it was never really. So the thing about SMU obviously is they were in the old Southwest Conference, right?
Mm-hmm.
And before the death penalty and before the expansion to the Big 12 and etc. But TCU wasn't. TCU was Mountain West. So if they ever played, it was like non-conference. Now they have played every year recently. And there's definitely, it's Fort Worth to Dallas, so it's basically the same area, and it's turning into somewhat of a rivalry. I wouldn't really call it like a historic rivalry necessarily. I would lean TCU here. It's one of those that's like, I don't love it because it feels like it feels kind of square, but I think it's one of those that's like the square play is the right side. Josh Hoover's been fantastic. I mean, he's been excellent. 8 touchdowns, 0 interceptions. And the biggest difference between SMU last year and this year is their quarterback got hurt at the end of the year, and he doesn't look the same this year. And they've been trying to rotate quarterbacks. Yeah, and Stone doesn't look like he did last year, and then they're playing the other kid who's not great.
I believe they've announced him as the official starter going forward as well.
The other kid, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and I mean Jennings, it's Kevin Jennings. Yeah, I mean he's not great. And then you got and again the biggest difference last year was SMU had like a power five, legit power five defensive line, and all those guys are gone. And they tried to bring them in. They tried to bring in more power five talent, and it just doesn't look the same. So like against the run, they're not elite, and they were like borderline elite last year against the run. So also, didn't SMU win this game? No, TCU won it last year. SMU won the year before that. I think this is TCU or pass for me.
Okay.
All in one show. We do not do fantasy advice. Trust me, you don't want fantasy advice from me. All right. Keep it moving.
Appreciate the question, though.
Yeah. And any questions, we will always do our best to answer. Let's see.
After what I've seen from Miami, I feel like 16.5 is a little trappy there against South Florida. I feel a bit short. I'm interested to see which direction that line goes. But I feel like Miami should win that game by 3 touchdowns. I'm not, if that Miami team we saw so far this year shows up, I don't think South Florida, no offense to them, but Alabama was clearly in a look-ahead spot, and, they did whatever they wanted to do with them in the fourth quarter of that game. I think Miami can do the same thing here in the entire game, just a matter of which Miami team we see. This is where I talk about weeks past of the Miami, will they be able to get up for this one? Will they be able to get up for Cal in a couple weeks at Cal at what God knows what time, when there's, 20 people there and whatever. So this is going to be interesting to see. I'm not going to play it, but I feel like it is kind of trappy. Like, oh, they're only getting, only giving 16.5 and they're the number 8 team in the country. Like something's off there for me.
So, well, here's what it is. I'll tell you what it is. South Florida's at home. This is their Super Bowl.
Yeah.
And they're a good team. South Florida is actually not a bad football team. Got a great offensive mind as their head coach. These guys go fast. At the same time, I don't want to get in front of the Miami train because Miami looks awesome. They look like a top 5 team. So it's probably a pass for me. If I wanted to make a bet, like I'm probably going with the home dogs. Just because it's one football game and things can happen and motivation matters and spots matter. And I think it's a South Florida spot. With that being said, I don't think Miami loses, and like they can roll almost anybody. So,
Proph, curious, what's the total on that game?
Let me check it out for you right now.
Because again, that fourth quarter, I watched the third and fourth quarter of that South Florida Alabama game. And really, the fourth quarter, 65 is a lot.
Mother of pearl.
Yeah,
that's really high.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think those lines are right. I just think they're where they should be for the most part, and I mean I think the books are probably going to make money on that game. All right, we'll keep it rolling. Another chance to fade the Seminoles, and California is 3-0, and they're not a bad football team. Man, do we do it again?
I will be honest with you. I will probably have the Golden Bears on my card.
Oh, man. This is just brutal.
I have to see the injury report first. Ott did not play last week against San Diego State. They said it was precautionary reasons, but we will see if that is true. The quarterback was Menendez, if I'm not mistaken.
Yep.
For Cal, he looked pretty good against.
It's Mendoza, right?
What?
Mendoza, I think.
Mendoza, sorry, yeah. I knew so.
He's good.
As I said at the start of the show, man, like if Ott plays, Cal should run the ball 45 times against that defense for Florida State because, they are incredibly soft. We saw it against Boston College. We saw it in Ireland against Georgia Tech. They're just an incredibly soft defense, and Cal's gonna blitz you. They're not gonna be intimidated going to Tallahassee. They were just at Auburn, so in the way Florida State fans roll, truthfully, there may not be that many people there. I don't like saying it that way, but it's kind of the honest truth of the matter. So,
yeah.
Yeah. With that said, I like the Golden Bears on Saturday.
Yeah, I'm probably just off it, but I don't blame you at all. I mean, it's man, what a mess. This game. I have bet the last 2 Tulsa overs and have lost both of them. And this game is such an over. And I actually think this is a better matchup for Tulsa because Louisiana Tech doesn't have the same athletes in the secondary that Oklahoma State had. Tulsa kept kind of getting behind Oklahoma State, but like Oklahoma State would just their recovery speed and they would jump and just make incredible defensive plays over and over on Tulsa. But yeah, I would lean over on that one, but we'll see. I don't know if I can have my heart broken again. Here's a fairly strong play. I'll make this one. Might be my last official show pick. We'll see. I like UConn quite a bit. Against FAU. Not a fan of FAU. Not a fan of the quarterback they brought in. We talked about him last show. Fancher. Really, I mean,
learn the slide. Good.
Yeah, he is the definition of mid. And also, I think Florida Atlantic is going to get out. Like they got to go to Connecticut. Like this is a decent home field advantage. These guys play significantly better in Connecticut, and they're physical. Like this is a physical team. Also, I liked what I saw from the other kid, not the FCS transfer. It was Evers. Nick Evers got to play. He took 29 passes. So he played quite a bit. I guess Vignano got hurt because he only threw 2 passes, but I think Evers might be better. And these guys are physical. I don't think Florida Atlantic's going to be able to stop the run. I think this is a very strong play for UConn. I think UConn controls this ball game and just plays UConn football. Fairly impressive result on the road against an athletic, fast Duke team, only losing 26-21 last week. So I think they come back home with some confidence. And FAU, meanwhile, they beat FIU, but there was a ton of turnovers in their favor. They got beat 24-7 to Army. And the Michigan State game, to me, is almost irrelevant. It's just like throw that whole game out the window because it was just a mess from both sides. But yeah, I like UConn. That's going to be an official show pick for me.
I like it. Not a big fan of what Tom Herman's got right now at FAU. And yeah, I like that for you, buddy.
Yeah, I think FAU is just kind of a transfer portal
nightmare.
Gabagool. They're just a big mess. All right. Keep it scrolling. Oh man, we got to talk about this game. They got to talk about a couple of games on here on this last go, but what do we do here? Holy moly! I mean, get your vomit bags ready. I mean, this is
going to be an offense.
Disgusting.
Yeah.
Why do I want to bet the Gophers? What's wrong with me? Why am I even talking about this game?
My gut says Iowa.
Oh God. I hate Minnesota so much, and I always end up betting them in these spots because it's a Minnesota spot. And Iowa was disgusting last week against Troy. The Minnesota defense actually looks good. What is the total? Like 38?
36.
Oh, blech. So gross. You know what? If you're going to tease a game this week, wait till Minnesota gets to gets to 3 and tease Minnesota. Tease Minnesota to 9 or 10. And I almost guarantee you that leg of the teaser will come through because, and I look, I kind of lean Minnesota. Just don't like their quarterback. I don't think Iowa's defense is as good as it was last year. I'm done talking about this game. I'm grossing myself out. It's horrible, dude. All right. Here's a fun one. Tennessee visiting Norman. And we've got 6.5s available. We've got 7.5s available. We've got 57.5 on the total. I think Oklahoma's defense has looked okay. Their offense, not so much. Tennessee's offense has looked great, and their defense has looked pretty dang good too. So I don't know. What? How do you see this game playing out?
I definitely lean hard this Tennessee team.
Even on the road?
Yeah, I love what Nico's done this year so far. Again, we talked about it but 2 weeks ago, or even last week after what they did to NC State. He fits that offense so well. And I just don't think Oklahoma has the offense to keep up with what Tennessee wants to do. And Tennessee defensively has looked very good so far this year. Now, I know, NC State isn't an offensive juggernaut, but they made Grayson McCall make a lot of mistakes. They had the pick 6 in that second half to kind of really turn the game in that one. And, I think, for Oklahoma, they're going to have to score mid-30s in this one if they want to win this game. I just don't see that happening with Arnold at quarterback. I just haven't been impressed with them this year. They probably should have lost 2 weeks ago against Houston. It was a 1-possession game against Tulane. I think Tennessee's clicking on all cylinders right now. So I like the Vols. Mine is a 6.5. I lean hard on that one.
I don't love who Tennessee's played, and it's hard to take away a whole lot from the NC State game because they look really bad. But Oklahoma, Houston's not very good. That was a bad performance at home against Houston. And the Tennessee defensive line has looked awesome. So I would say, use Tennessee money line in your parlays. I think Tennessee has got a chance to win the SEC this year. So I think they're that good, and I'm not that high on Oklahoma. All right.
I have an official play on Ole Miss when you get to it.
All right, we're there.
Yeah, I got Ole Miss team total over 51.5 at -115. Ole Miss leads the nation in total yards per game at 692. We saw Georgia Southern versus a relevant offense in Boise State, and they gave up 56. Ole Miss is averaging 56 points per game, 64 points per game at home. I love this offense. I love Jackson Dart. I think definitely I think they'll put up a lot of points in this one. I just don't think Georgia Southern can stop a nosebleed at all. So, yeah, I know it's a lot of points at 51.5, but I can easily see them getting 52 in this one.
Yeah, it is a big number, but like you said, this offense has just been a juggernaut. So I like it. I just spotted something else that I think I really like. Oh man. Yeah, this will be my last one.
I got one last one. You should know what it is at this point.
I do know what it is. I'm just gonna say, I'm not gonna give this out official yet because I've got to look at a couple more things. This has a chance to be official and potentially a big way. I like Colorado here against Baylor. If you know me, you know how I feel about Colorado. I mean, I'm not like a big Dion guy. I'm not a big Colorado supporter. I'm not betting them every week. I didn't bet them much last year. Here's the thing, though. The books are looking at Baylor's final score against Air Force at 31-3, and they're like, "Whoa, that was a dominant win for Baylor." You know, well, they played a triple option team. I do think they'll get some pressure on Shedeur in this game that he'll have to deal with. But Baylor's offense, not great. So I think this is a game where Colorado's defense is better than it was last year. Maybe not like way, way substantially better, but they're definitely better. I think Baylor's offense has got real problems. Like, I think they've got significant problems. Air Force is horrible. They're horrible this year. This is the worst Air Force team in a long time, right? I think the only team that can score points in this game in this game is going to be Colorado. I mean, I think they're the only team that can score in this game. I like Colorado. They're at home. It's going to be their first Big 12 game. It's going to, it's their first home game other than the North Dakota State game. It's going to be rocking. They're 2-1. I just don't like the. I think there's a big talent discrepancy on the field in Boulder for this game. And again, for me, it's as simple as, and look, I bet Baylor last week. I bet Baylor on this show, and it was an easy cover. But I think that's skewing the reality just a bit here on the line. I think this is one, of the few opportunities where Colorado is actually a little bit undervalued by the bookmakers here. And I like Colorado, but again, not official right now. I got to look at some injury stuff. I got to see what the status on DeQuan Finn is and all that good stuff. But you have do you have a take on this one at all, or?
Yeah, I have an issue with Baylor's athletes or lack thereof against Colorado's, especially in the wide receiver and skill
Yeah.
positions. And if this game was in Waco, I would maybe feel a different way. But the fact that it isn't up in Boulder, Prime's teams have usually played a lot better there. So yeah, I'm with you. I kind of lean the Buffaloes on that one.
Cool. Let's talk about your last official pick, and then we will talk real quick something about the Heisman odds, and then we'll wrap it up.
Yeah, it's my last one. If you follow the show so far, you know where I'm going with this one. New Mexico, Fresno State, over 61.5, minus 105. New Mexico, bottom 5 in the nation in points given up per game at 47 points per game. Fresno's top 40 in the nation with points scored per game at 34.7. That also includes them only scoring 10 against Michigan at the opening week of the year, so they've definitely uptick their offense in this one. New Mexico's 3 games this year are averaging 76.6 points per game. They've gone over this number in all 3 of their games so far this season. They can score it as well, but their defense, as I said, bottom 5 in the country. And if you've watched them this year, you'll see why. You can just line up and run it down their throats every play, unfortunately. And I just feel like 61.5 is another gettable number. I know it's in the 60s, but that's it. The Mexico is just really, really, really bad defensively. And we saw it week 0. We saw it against Auburn. We saw it week 1 against Arizona. I don't think anything changes here against Fresno. I think this is a high-scoring affair, and I think over 61.5 is a definite big play.
Cool. Yeah, I mean, we're again riding this till the wheels fall off, right? And New Mexico. Here's the thing: New Mexico will score. They'll contribute in this game. It's not going to be like all Fresno. New Mexico will score some points in this game. Their quarterback is a good little player. So, all right. So that's it for the official picks. I want to talk about something real quick, though. With all due respect to Quinn Ewers, all due respect, he's a good player. He's a good college quarterback.
Top 15 pick in the draft, possibly.
I think he's going to have to, sit his butt on the bench behind the Heisman Trophy winner this year, because I think Arch Manning is going to win the Heisman Trophy. I feel that strongly about his performance. Obviously, I realize it was UTSA. This kid, I mean, he's the best quarterback in college football. After one game, which obviously I've seen him in the spring games. I've seen him leading up to his commitment, everything. I was blown away. First of all, didn't know he was that fast. He's not a little bit fast. He's like leaving people on the field fast. The arm talent, everything. Like, dude. And Texas is really good.
Yeah.
So look out. I mean, I know he's like down to 18-1 or something now, but he was 150-1 before the game because obviously the injury situation. I don't think you can keep that kid off the field. I don't see a scenario where Quinn Ewers is the starter by himself. Maybe they're splitting reps, but dude, I was blown away. I mean, I was like, this kid's a monster.
Mannings are not supposed to be that fast. Like, like where did that come from? And it's hard to, like, the thing about him is with Arch, it was hard to really judge him in high school because he wasn't playing the best competitions. He wasn't going to, Elite 11 camp, stuff like that. So, I mean, you hear the name and you see the size, so you think it's got to be somewhat good, but it was hard to really say what we saw, on Saturday. That's really, it was crazy to see. Yeah, truthfully. So, props to Sark. He's got a good problem to have in that one. When Quinn comes back, he's got a tough decision to make. We'll see how Texas looks this week again. I mean, they got EOM, but I mean, there isn't much drop off, I believe, at the quarterback position. That's for sure. By the way, week 1, 2025 season, Texas at Ohio State.
Ooh, nice.
Yeah.
I mean, Texas. I'm talking to some buddies about going to the Texas Georgia game.
Yeah,
it's going to be in Austin. So I mean, that's right down the road for me. All right, I'm giving this out. Put a half a unit on it. I legitimately think this has got a real chance. If he ends up getting the majority of the play, Texas is going to be really good all year, and in the SEC, so plenty of eyeballs. Yeah, I'm giving that up. All right, folks. Before you go, make sure you like the video. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. Where are we at here? Ooh. Yeah, make sure you subscribe to the channel. And remember, Tuesdays, we've got the very important NFL show with Sosa. That'll be tomorrow night, same time as tonight, 10 Eastern. And then on Wednesdays, we also have the MLS Live podcast with my guy Garrett at Just Some Footy. So make sure you're tuning in for all those shows. We give out, they're all betting shows. They're all content shows.
The Crew going to win the championship again?
What was that?
The Crew going to win the championship again?
Man, they've got a great team. They have a great chance. They've got the best coach in MLS. Wilfred Nancy is by far the best coach in MLS. But here's the thing. The top of Major League Soccer, they're building super teams right now. Mm-hmm. I mean, Miami with Messi and Messi and company, and the West, LA Galaxy's got they brought in Royce from Borussia Dortmund, and they've got a $12 million designated player Peck, and then they've got Paintsil, who's the fastest guy in the league, and they've got Ricky Puig from previously played in La Liga. He's close to an MVP caliber 10, and then LAFC has brought in Oliver Giroud from AC Milan, and yeah, they're talking about bringing in Griezmann, and it's absurd. But anyway, folks, thanks for tuning in. We gave out 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. We gave out another 8 show picks, 6 and 2 last week. Hopefully we can do it again.
For the people.
Always for the people. And like I said, make sure you subscribe, and we'll see you next week.